What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of the Brandon Janeau Show. As you know, I am Brandon Janeau, and like always, on all podcast platforms, Brandon Janeau Show, social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, yeah, Brandon Janeau Show, and of course, YouTube channel, Brandon Janeau Show. Go there, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification button, uh, um, and comment, man. I do comment back. I will, comment back. So, uh, yeah, hope you guys enjoy this episode. So tonight, I am starting my new series. Well, it's a series in a series, I should say, and it's called um, "What If." What if? Point of view or random shit presents "What If." It's gonna be me kind of picking particularly a topic, a situation, and pretty much going off of details and stuff that I've read over the years about a certain situation. And what better way to start this off than what has been going on since the start of the year, which is the Cat Williams interview that just came out, and him just airing out, just airing out everybody, just going in, shooting everybody. Uh, so Cat Williams is the perfect person to start this what if uh, series with. Point of view of random shit. What if? Cat Williams edition. Um, Want to say personally, um, excuse me. Want to say personally that Cat Williams is one of you know my top five stand-up comedians of all time. There's not that many. He's in my I say top five, but he's literally in my top four. Five is interchangeable. My last one is always interchangeable. Some days it's Bernie Mac, some days it's Eddie Griffin. You know what I'm saying? My top five is literally my top four is no particular order, but it sounds like an order. Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, uh, Cat Williams, Patrice O'Neal. Those are my four. Like those are like no matter what, Patrice, Cat, Dave, Chris Rock. Like those are the four. And like I said, after that, it's after that is Eddie, Bernie Mac, you know, and that could change in and out. But yeah, those are my four. Um, Man, but Cat Williams is somebody. If you grew up like I did, early 2000s, well, 90s, 2000s, Cat Williams is one of those comedians, man. He is one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time. Um, and so this interview that he just did on Club Shay Shay, one of the greatest tight ends ever, Shannon Sharp. Um, that is non-debatable. I am not having that debate with everybody. He is one of the greatest tight ends of all time. I don't want to hear that shit from anyone else. Um, but he, of course, um, had Cat Williams on his podcast, and his podcast has been popular for a while. But this interview seems like it just skyrocketed his podcast to another fucking level. Um, but Cat Williams, man, absolutely went on this podcast and he destroyed it. Holy shit. Pretty much aired out everybody. Now, everybody has said 2024 is the year for clarity. And boy, oh boy, did he leave people questioning clarity a little bit here, man. Now, some of this interview, uh, I've seen people have takes on this. Of course, everybody said, I believe everything Cat says. And some people are saying, I don't know. I don't believe this part. Or everybody's like, this nigga just bitter. He's hating, you know, he's just hating on everybody. He bitter. He jealous. What I took from this is that, I believe what he did say. Some of the shit he said, I definitely believe. And there's other shit that you could look at and you could definitely pick it apart and say, I don't know about that part. Perfect example. Perfect example, right? He does this interview, um, and he goes at a lot of comedians in his interview. Particularly, Ricky Smiley. That was like the first person when he sat down. That was the first person he actually, you know, talked about Ricky Smiley. And man, Ricky Smiley, also somebody I grew up watching on Comic View. I grew up watching Ricky Smiley on Comic View. He was one of the hosts of Comic View, BET Comic View, way back in the day. He was one of the hosts. So I grew up on Ricky Smiley, so I always knew who Ricky Smiley was. They both was in the movie Friday After Next, one of the great, Friday movies, of course, obviously. Um, but the you know Ricky Smiley said on Club Shay Shay, which goes into this, he said on Club Shay Shay um that he was supposed to be Money Mike in Friday After Next. Now, before I did this podcast, maybe an hour or two ago, before I actually started doing this podcast, maybe an hour ago, yeah, an hour ago, Ice Cube put out this video speaking on the issue and said, yeah, Ricky Smiley did read for Money Mike, but then we realized like, okay, you don't fit this role, you fit this Santa Claus role. Now, that's great for Ice Cube to say these things because that's exactly what somebody that literally created the movie Friday After Next, that trilogy, that franchise, he is supposed to eventually say something to the sorts. Um, but particularly what Ricky Smiley said. Ricky Smiley said, "Yo, I read this script. I was cast as Money Mike." Now, of course, he's gonna, of course, reframe it over the last couple of years. Now that this has happened, but Cat Williams gets on there and he literally says, Cat Williams gets on there on this podcast and says, "Yo, how the hell could you cast for Ricky? Like, how could you be Money Mike when I literally pretty much ad libbed the some of these lines?" And that's exactly what Ice Cube said. If somebody's killing it, we're gonna let them come back after you get the lines down. We're gonna let you come back and ad lib some of your parts if you're killing it. And that's what Ice Cube said. So I do believe that Cat Williams was supposed to be Money Mike. Yeah, I get that, you know, he came and was like, yo, like I read for Money Mike, but to say you literally were cast as Money Mike and then you said, well, they told us to swap roles because this fit me better or it fit him. That's a lie. That's a lie. Anybody that saw Money Mike watched Friday After Next, which a lot of us have, there is no way in hell you actually thought Ricky Smiley could play Money Mike. There's no way in hell. If you know Ricky Smiley's comedy, you know money like Ricky Smiley doesn't have to quote Cat Williams, doesn't have a pimp bone in his body. He don't have it. The man is right. Cat Williams was right about a lot of things, and one thing he was right about is Ricky Smiley's fan base is Christians, man. And I'm not trying to make this a religious thing, but we all know you're not gonna play no pimp when most of your fan base is Christians, black Southern Christians. On top of that, you ain't playing no pimp. I don't give a shit what you say. You ain't playing no pimp, and that's just how I looked at it. Like it was like I'm like hearing that shit. I'm like, nah, Ricky Smiley, you tripping, bro. But for him to say, and eventually he did say, yo, on his radio show, like, nah, yo, Cat was right. I kind of overstepped that. I should never said it like that. Okay, perfect. The Cedric the Entertainer thing, because Cedric caught a straight two in this situation. Cedric's situation. Cedric uh and Cat's problem kicks off from the fact that yo Cedric pretty much stole Cat Williams' joke. Now Cat said he confronted Cedric about the joke years ago. He came up to him and confronted him about the joke years ago. He said Cedric apologized to him in person with somebody else I'm gonna talk about later on as I keep telling you this. But he said he saw Cedric. Cedric, hey, apologized to him in person. Then he gets on Club Shay Shay again and says, hey, he says the jokes don't line up. Now you have to know, as a fan of comedy, as I am, the first rule of comedy is you don't steal somebody's material. That is the first rule of comedy. You don't steal somebody's shit. So for Cedric to have stolen Cat's material, that's not a good thing, man. especially when you are trying to be one of the biggest comedians of all time. Cedric apologized to Katt. That's what he said. And even Cedric has now come out and said, yeah, I apologize. I saw Katt, saw him apologize to him. The problem that lies into this, and Cedric could have clearly avoided this situation, is when he sat down with Shannon Sharpe and he literally said, hey, yeah, I did steal his joke. Now I fucked up on that. The reason why Cedric, I think, said that the jokes don't line up is because, like I just said, stealing a joke, a comedian stealing another comedian's joke, you know, like joke is a terrible thing to do, especially in comedy. You do not want to steal somebody's jokes because, especially when you have, we live in the world we live in now where people start to pick, okay, if you stole his joke, who else joke you stole? So I get why he pretty much didn't choose to be honest. The problem with that is that we live in the world we live in. So even if you lied and said, no, I didn't steal his joke, that don't line up, people are still going to find the jokes that you stole from someone. And that's exactly what is happening right now with Cedric the Entertainer. He stole his joke. Period. I'm seeing it on social media. They pull it up. I literally was watching this interview, and literally the next day, I get on YouTube again, and I see the damn joke that everybody's referring to. And Cedric, of course, goes on social media and says, hey, man, I did steal your joke, but you cannot tell somebody to get over it. That's where the line gets drawn because you can't tell somebody how to react. When they saw you, you apologized, you said sorry, and then when you get on a couch in front of the public and you say, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't steal your joke. That don't line up. The fuck you mean? And I can see why Katt is like, yo, like, nigga, I saw you. You apologized to me. And then when you come in the public eyes, you again say, I don't know what he's talking about. What? Yeah, I would have a problem with that too. I'm sorry. I would personally have a problem with that too. I have a problem with that. I've had incidents when I've done stuff on this podcast and certain people have seen what I've done and then took it and try to rework it. Like a Cat Williams and Cedric Entertainer. You took my shit and then you try to rework it and try to make it seem like you did it. Or it's you. Because you have a bigger platform than probably I do. And that's great. But the problem with that is you don't bring the same energy, the same life, none of that shit. So I understand where Cat is coming from when he says this motherfucker stole my shit. And then try to pass it off as his. Like this nigga has that in him to create this. But the problem with, like I said, with the Cedric situation is we live in a world where the internet exists. And the internet is powerful right now. So not only is that joke getting picked apart and now being seen around the world that, yeah, you stole this joke. Now it's jokes that Cedric has used in previous specials that people are now picking apart and be like, hey man, you used this joke from this situation. And that is where it's kind of like, ugh, this is not good. Like the Bominicious joke that he had in this special, live from the Ville, Bominicious. The joke goes, you could call me by my initials, but the man was speaking in a country accent. You couldn't hear what he was really trying to say, so he kept saying Bominicious. But the people pull up a joke from a TV show way back in like what the 80s, 90s, and a comedian on there is like, yo, he says the same joke. Now he doesn't say it the exact same way. Cedric's joke is that he goes home and they talk so country down there you can't even hear what they saying, and then he meets his cousin's friend, and his cousin's friend's like, yo, you call me Bominicious Joe. Everybody calls me Bominicious. You call me Bominicious Joe. He's like, Bominicious? That's the joke. But then when you see this TV show with the guy says it, he's like, oh, this woman signs the check to this man, but he's so country. He says, hey, I meant to tell you about that. The last time you signed a check and you put Bominicious on it, I was telling you, I told you my name from when the first moment we met, and I told you could call me by my initials. So it's the same. The layout is the same joke. The layout is different, but the joke is the same. How you tell it is different, but the ending of it is the same. And that's kind of where comedy kind of gets a little bit interesting. Because, yes, when you watch Katt's joke, and then you do you watch the Kings of Comedy where Cedric does do the spaceship shit, the the wind up to it is different, but it's still at the end. It's like you're still getting to the same conclusion of where I was with my joke, and I understand why Katt would feel some type of way. I totally would understand that. Now, him calling them not funny, same thing with Ricky Smiley, same thing with all these comedians calling them not funny. I don't know about that. Ricky Smiley's funny. Cedric the Entertainer is funny. There's other person I don't think is funny at all, to be honest with you, and that's Steve Harvey. I don't think Steve Harvey's funny at all. And Cat goes hard in the paint on Steve, mainly because of how Steve is successful and how he did become famous. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all some real shit. Real shit. I don't really fuck with Steve Harvey. Not a fan of Steve Harvey. I love the Steve Harvey show, but that's because of Cedric. That's because of Levita. Like Regina. Like I love the cast around him. The show would have worked even if Steve wasn't on the show. It sounds crazy to say that, but the show still would have worked if Steve wasn't even on the show. And it sounds crazy to say that because nobody does a sitcom, and the show would still work if the sitcom's lead fucking factor. But think about it. All them stories that they had would have worked without him. Cedric and Levita was a better couple than Regina and Steve was. Like all of this shit could have worked without Steve, and that's even the kids. Like even the kids, you still could have had the bullet head and Romeo and Lydia Liza Gutman and all that shit. You could have had all that shit if you still didn't have Steve. That's the craziest shit to think. Like think about it, you still could have had all that shit without Steve. But where I think also the situation with Steve Harvey is, you stole all of your shit. And something that Kat said in this thing is, Steve really did steal all of his shit. The entire Steve Harvey show, what it was stolen from Hanging with Mr. Cooper. And now, again, if you're a 90s kid like I am, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, you remember that show. That show had a older, still young, but a older Raven Simone on there. Like, Hanging with Mr. Cooper was the shit. Like, I remember watching Hanging with Mr. Cooper. That was my shit. I fuck with that show very hard. So for Steve Harvey to then see that show and then go up to but I forgot what network took the Steve Harvey show, but for him to go up to that show and then say, "Hey, you know, I think I got a premise for a show. How about I be a school teacher that comes back to his old school and then teaches the kids?" Nigga, that's hanging with Mr. Cooper. like, I've listen. I'm one of the rare few that say I don't watch Friends because they stole that entire idea from a living single. So I don't watch Friends because they stole the idea from a living single. But as I've gotten older and I've watched Mr. Hanging with Mr. Cooper and then watched Steve Harvey show, I'm like, yeah, this shit is literally the same show. It's literally the same show. And Hanging with Mr. Cooper is better. Mark Curry is way better in that show than Steve is in the Steve Harvey show. Like I just said, you could do the Steve Harvey show without Steve. You cannot do Hanging with Mr. Cooper without Mr. Cooper. That's the damn difference. I am not a huge fan of Steve Harvey. I don't think he's funny. Nothing he says is drop to your knees, tears rolling, funny. Nothing. Like he's not funny. He's got a couple jokes here and there, a couple clips here and there, where you're like, it's kind of okay. Eh, it's funny, I guess. Like, but it's nothing that makes you like that shit funny. Nothing. Nothing. I'm not even in the industry, and I hear the stories from Steve about people with Steve Harvey. There is no way in hell your whole cast and crew don't fuck with you. Like that's crazy. Yeah. And the hate on Bernie Mac, one of the greatest to ever do it, it's crazy. Like I said, my five is interchangeable. Is either Bernie Mac or Eddie Griffin. Just depends on my day. If I want to watch Bernie, I watch Bernie. If I want to watch Eddie, I watch Eddie Griffin. But it depends on me. But Bernie is damn sure in the top five. He's in the top five, top six of some of my favorite comedians of all time. Because the man could fucking act, and the man could be a stand-up comedian. He could act. He was damn near one of the best to ever do it. So for Steve to hate on that, that's that crab in the barrel mentality, man. You know he's better than you, but you want to weasel your way because you think you got a bigger name. Nah, buddy. So everything Cat said about Steve Harvey, I totally think it's true. And here's how the game go. They're pulling up clips of Cat Williams and Steve Harvey back in 2008, where Cat Williams said, I kind of killed Steve Harvey on the stage. It killed his stand-up career. They're pulling up them clips. It's not a lot. Now, me personally, I gotta see what Steve Harvey was, what Steve Harvey said that made the Detroit crowd kind of like be like, that's not as funny. And then Cat comes on and just runs it. But you know what I'm saying? Like Steve has never been funny though. Like it's never been anything that Steve has said that I'm like laughing hard about. But you know, that's just me. um, Now another comedian he kind of also talked about on there was Faison Love. Faison Love in the last what couple years has been, let's be real, just been a hater. He's been a hater, man. Like Faison's been a fucking hater the last couple years. Anybody that believe what Faison has said, and here's a clip again. Internet finds shit when they find shit. So Faison Love goes on this interview and says Cat Williams is the most overrated comedian ever. Ever? That's a strong statement. And the way he says this is he's overrated because you gotta not just do stand up. You gotta be in movies. You gotta be in TV, and you only kill in stand up, but you don't deal with anything else. It's like, well, I've seen Cat in movies. I've seen Cat in TV roles. The man is fucking great at everything. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, sir. So the Faison Cat shit, I don't understand why Faison has that energy towards Cat, but I also can understand that Faison thinks that he's supposed to be in Cat's shoes, and he just isn't that guy. He's not funny. You've had a couple classic roles, and I can't even say that. You've had one classic role, Big Worm, and Big Worm was really more so because of how funny Chris Tucker is. Speaking of that, Chris Tucker caught a stray, which I don't think is a stray, to be honest with you. I don't think Chris Tucker really caught a stray. What he was explaining was exactly what is real and what is true and what we all know about Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker, Chris Tucker is not a weed smoker. Chris Tucker has said this numerous times. He did not want to be the poster boy for being a weed smoker. That's not something. That's not a stray. That's fucking obvious. Chris Tucker has been on record and said this. So I don't know how Chris Tucker caught a stray, but okay. Tiffany Haddish is another one. I don't. She caught a stray too. I don't really think Tiffany Haddish is just like Steve. I don't think Tiffany Haddish is funny at all. There's nothing she said that I'm like laughing at. There's nothing I've heard uh from Tiffany Haddish. I don't really watch her movies. I don't think she's funny. I don't think she's funny. Um, Not at all. Not at all. I don't think she's funny at all. Um, and I've seen female comedians in my lifetime that have been extremely fucking funny. She's not one of them. She's not one of them. Um, which brings me to the reason of why I did the what if, right? This is the what if for everybody. Kevin Hart. Now, for years, Kevin Hart and Cat Williams have been going back and forth at each other on in press conference in interviews and all these things. And Kevin Hart has literally said that most of his roles early in his career, pretty much, right? Most of his roles early in his career, his movie career, those movie roles went to Cat Williams. But Cat did not want to do it. Now, in an interview a couple years ago, Kevin Hart was on The Breakfast Club and said, um, Cat Williams fucked off on these attorneys, well, on these people in Hollywood, fucked over these people in Hollywood and stuff, and pretty much chose not to do the press conference, do these movies because he was on drugs and he became a liability to these Hollywood companies and networks, so they couldn't trust Cat Williams to do these movie roles. So he took the jobs and he became popular and he became famous. And he said he became a Cat was on drugs and he became bitter and jealous and a hater and all these things. And so what Cat says, Cat does this interview and he says, that Kevin Hart is an industry plant. So when have you ever heard of a comedian for that came into the Hollywood in the first year in Hollywood have a TV show and a movie, and you are the face of the movie? Now, this is the what if, right? What if Cat would have took the movie roles? What if Cat would have taken all those movie roles that Kevin Hart so happily took? What happens to Kevin Hart? Because to me, it feels like if I was Kevin Hart and I'm so happy to be in the position I'm in, but you also got to put into perspective, bro. You a second choice. You a second choice. And I know he took the opportunity, but there's a flip side to that coin, is that they thought Cat Williams was better for this role, and he chose, as he says, there were certain things in these roles that I personally was just not cool with. And if that is the case, then what made them roles so cool for you to take? Were you just cool with being told that this is how the movie's gonna go and this is what we wrote for you to say and do? And maybe you were, and now a lot of people consider and say that was not Cat's right to personally tell a movie company that I'm not doing this if you don't take this X, Y, and Z out of the movie role, and that's perfectly well put, and you can definitely say that, and that's 100% true. But at the same time, if you have said that I am the perfect person for this role, why would you not, you know, because usually if I'm not going to lead, if you ask me to be a part of this movie, you clearly know I'm not going to lead you wrong. So why would you not let me, do my best in this movie by taking some of this shit out and let me put ad lib it, pretty much. But for people that's sitting up here and saying, "Oh, Kevin's, Cat is just jealous of Kevin, and Cat should have been Kevin, is in Cat's position, and that's the only reason why Cat is mad at Kevin." That sounds so stupid to me. I don't like how people like to run that idea, and I hate those narratives. Is that somebody is in his shoes, so that's why they don't like that person? No, I don't think that. I think God has things happen for a reason, right? So if you believe that, then maybe Cat just didn't think those movie roles were great for him to be in, and Kevin took them, took the opportunities. That's great. One thing that Cat Williams has always said is, once you get put in a dress as a black comedian, there's pretty much no coming back from that. And Kevin has been on the record and said, I would never be in a dress. I would never do the dress shit. And then soon as Saturday Night Live called, he took the opportunity to be in a dress. It's like, bro, like some of the shit Cat said is true. Goes into the Ricky Smiley situation where Cat Williams said, "Yo, I pretty much told the internet, I told the next movie I was in, if I ever had to work with Ricky Smiley again, I told them, I put it in my contract that the nigga had to wear a dress with me in a movie. What was the next movie he was in? Friday, first Sunday. What was Ricky Smiley in the whole time? A dress. Now that part, I don't believe that Cat Williams. 100% said every movie that him and Ricky Smiley has to do, because that's pretty much what he was saying. Every movie me and Ricky Smiley ever have to do, if we ever do a movie again, he's got to be in the dress. I really do think that the movie, I think the first Sunday movie, I don't know if he was told that he had to get put in a dress because Cat Williams told him to. That's a little too far. I don't believe that shit at all. But I do believe certain people, black men, sorry, black men, they do try to, emasculate you when they do put you in dress. They put you in a dress, especially when you're a comedian. It seems like that's just their favorite fucking thing to do. I don't know why. But man, the Kevin Hart and Cat Williams shit is very interesting. Like I said, Kevin Hart, you took these movie roles knowing exactly that you were taking them from Cat Williams. Not taking them from. I don't want to say taking them from, but you were the second option. And yes, did you kill it? You certainly did. That's why you're in the position that you're in. But to sit up there and tell this man that he's bitter and he's jealous and he's hating on you is the craziest shit on the planet, because I don't think he's hating on you at all. I think he personally said what he said. I don't want to do these movie roles because these movie roles may be a little bit against my integrity. And that is strong, man, to sit there and say, I'd rather pass on this shit because the person I am can't do this shit. And I respect that. And a lot of people can sit up here and say, "Oh, so you telling me you would rather take you anybody that's cool with taking the money over your integrity?" Yeah, I see why you think that Kevin Hart is great. Like, because what he is saying is, you rather take the money over your integrity, over the person that you actually are. You rather take the money. That's crazy to me. Now, the industry plan shit. I don't personally think that Kevin Hart is an industry plant. I know a lot of people heard that part, and that's pretty much what the part has been. I don't think Kevin Hart is an industry plant, not even in the slightest. Kevin Hart, I've been seeing Kevin Hart movies. Kevin Hart was in his movie Paper Soldiers, what, in 04, 05? That's before he became, the juggernaut in Hollywood. So I've seen Kevin Hart in, B-list movies for years. So I don't think he's, yeah, I don't personally think he's an industry plant. What I do think is the beginning of his career wasn't an industry plant. I damn sure think he is now. That's where I do have to jump off the bandwagon. I do think he is now, because he knows now I'm in a perfect position where I can't fuck this up for myself. I do think he's an industry plant now. When he first got started, I don't think he was an industry plant. Is he now an industry plant? I totally think he is. The shit that you said today, like, to respond to Cat Williams was, I'm not responding to this shit. Go watch my movie on Netflix. That's some industry plant shit. You don't say that shit. If somebody is calling you out, your integrity, and saying, nigga, you either gave up your ass or gave up your mouth to be in the position you in, and you got nothing for it, you just tell niggas to go stream a movie on Netflix? Like, my nigga, really? And then what makes it even worse is the fact that your one of your best friends, Spank, if you know anything about the Plastic Cup Boys, you know, for for Spank to be on social media last night before I went to sleep. Spank was on social media going back and forth with people. He tweeted out, Cat Williams, and said, this nigga been talking about this shit for damn near a decade. I'm tired of this shit. But bro, again, people on social media was like, no nigga, y'all proving them right. Like, what do you what are you getting mad about? You're proving them right. Everything you doing on this social media shit, you're proving them right. And for that alone, y'all proving them right. When Kevin Hart puts out this fucking message that, oh, go stream my movie that's coming out on Netflix. My nigga, this nigga is attacking your integrity and pretty much your way of life. And you gonna sit up here and say, I'm too big for this. I'm not gonna talk about that. So, for some people, they think that's cool. For me, that is not. I think, nigga, like, there's a time for you to talk your shit now. See, when Cat Williams didn't have the platforms and didn't have to say all of this shit, you were big and bold. You went on a Breakfast Club and shitted on this man. Now that this man got a platform, he just ran through you niggas. You now got this idea in your head that I'm gonna just plug my movie. For some of y'all, that y'all might think that's cool. For me, that is terrible fucking management. Because everywhere you go, people are going to ask you now about the Cat Williams shit. And guess what you're gonna have to say? No comment, or you're gonna actually have to explain how the fuck you got in your position that you in. That's bad, bro. My what if is this, man. What if Cat does take all those movie roles? Does Kevin Hart become Kevin Hart? And that's kind of where the problem lies up because you have been on record. He's now been on record. Every movie role that Kevin Hart got for the first couple years of his career was on my desk. And I decided to turn him down because I had integrity and he clearly did not. He didn't call out that you wasn't funny. He never called out, and I don't know why this battle is becoming brewing on social media. That it's because Kevin Hart ain't never been funny. I've never said Kevin Hart was funnier than Cat Williams ever in my life. I don't think Kevin Hart's ever been funny. I actually, to be honest with you, his last couple comedy specials I haven't even watched because I don't think he really even saying anything. I'd rather watch the clips than to watch the whole fucking special. But for me, the conversation isn't about if Kevin Hart is funny. Is he funnier than Cat Williams? The conversation is the integrity of Kevin Hart. I don't know where the fuck the funny part comes in, but the conversation really is why, yo, Kevin Williams has said, I turned down these movie roles because they did not fit me. It was a lot of shit I wasn't comfortable with doing in these movies. And I told the studios that I didn't want to do these movies because of the uncomfortability of these characters that they try to make me be in. So I chose not to be in these movies. So for Kev, so for Kevin Hart to take these movie roles, he ain't calling out you being not funny. He's calling you out by saying, "What did you do to get these movie roles? You were cool with the fuck shit they were trying to make me do. So every movie that you was in that I turned down, you were cool with it. This ain't got shit to him being funny. It's got shit to do with his integrity. You were cool with doing this bullshit when I said personally, because of my integrity and what I believed in as a person, I chose not to fuck with this. I don't know where the fuck the funny shit kicked in, but when Cat was on there, he was pretty much saying, bro, like every movie role I had, I turned him down because I didn't personally like these movies. And again, I don't know what the fuck the movie, I don't know what the fuck the funny part kicked in, but alright, I guess. Yeah. To end this out, I'll say this. Do I think Kevin Hart would be in the position he's in if Cat Williams didn't have integrity? Kevin Hart's funny. I think Kevin Hart would have fit the movies that he was supposed to fit. Do I think he would have had all of these movies that he has had since, because Cat Williams chose not to fuck with him? Probably not. I think Cat would have definitely took the movies that he was supposed to be in if he had, if he didn't have integrity, if he didn't choose himself over the money and the fame. But the fact that Kevin Hart still would have been big. I don't think Kevin Hart would not have been big. Kevin Hart is too funny not to have had some fame, some clout, some respect. But the juggernaut that he is today, would it had become what it is today if Cat Williams chose to still play the game of Hollywood? No, I don't think it would have. I don't think it would have. Cat Williams is too funny not to have been in the shoes that Kevin Hart is in. He's way funnier. Everybody says he's way funnier. I'm not saying Kevin Hart is not funny. He's way funnier though. Cat Williams is way fucking funnier than Kevin Hart. So everything that Kevin Hart does have, some of the funny roles that he has, Cat Williams would have absolutely had and killed. So for me personally, man, yeah, Kevin Hart would have still had a career, but to sit there and say that he would have been on the same plateau as Cat Williams, I don't know about that. I think Cat Williams would have still been successful and probably majorly successful, and Kevin Hart would have still had what he was supposed to have. Because somebody like Kevin Hart, who has the work ethic, the talent, and the ability of Kevin Hart, would have still panned out the way he would have panned out. But would he have been the juggernaut that he is today if Cat Williams would have had no integrity and chose to take those movie roles that he has so elegantly put that he didn't want because he would have had to change the person that he is to get those movies done? I don't think Kevin Hart would have had any of that. I don't think he would be the juggernaut he is. I do think Kevin Hart's funny. I don't think he's funnier than Cat Williams. So I guess that's why a lot of people have said the funny. But for me, it's really Cat Williams saying that the integrity that I have as a person is why I turned those movies down. And for that, Kevin Hart cannot just be sitting here trying to act like that shit don't have nothing to do with me. Go watch my movie on Netflix. Because he's not calling you out because of how funny you are. He's calling you out because of Hollywood chose you. Well, you chose to be in this Hollywood the way it was, and I chose not to. So what did you do to be so cool with being in this type of Hollywood? That's integrity, man. Ain't got shit to do with your laughing ability. But who am I? This has been a BrandonJaneauShow. Show. Point of view of random shit. What if? Cat Williams. Peace. Oh yeah, go watch the interview. Go watch some old Cat Williams stand-up specials. Matter of fact, go watch Netflix. Peace.